Okay, we're recording because Rob is on a tight schedule. Not right, Rob? Where are you?
I'm in next to the border of Oman,
Oh dear.
one of the Arab Emirates called Al Ain.
Al. Oh, I always call it Al Ain, so that's maybe
Yeah,
doing
that's
it a
the French
disservice.
pronunciation actually.
Al Ain or Al Ain?
Alain, Al Ain,
Al Ain.
And what's
Al
on
Ain.
the agenda this week?
Prep for the season. Season prep begins. Working away. I had a bit. Actually, I injured my other shoulder there a few weeks ago.
Al Ain.
At least it's balanced now.
Too much lifting over Christmas, and yeah, did it like a little. It kind of popped out and popped back in. So I'm just getting the prep hasn't gone like quite as like how I would have liked it to be, but we're grinding away at the minute, and we're putting in the steps to get ready for this first event on the Hotel Planner Tour in South Africa on the 29th of Jan.
Nice.
Exciting
Ideal.
time, exciting, big year ahead, big year.
Ideal. I preferred the rain in Edinburgh the first 4 hours when I woke up this morning. That's kind of what I prefer to the South African.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean
South Africa.
it's not that warm over here for like next to Dubai. It's like only 24 degrees.
Oh, it's a shame.
Wow. How
It was
about
Yeah,
where you're
4
up?
here today, and
uh,
it
we
probably
actually
felt
had to take a
quite nice.
we had to take a sweater this morning,
Wow.
which was
Guys,
really
it's
disappointing.
it's not all sunshine rainbow and tour, guys.
No,
You might have to bring a sweater with
He
you
had
in
to bring his
January.
sponsored Jay Lindeberg sweater.
listen, people think we people think we have the good life.
Yeah. Was your
Have you?
driver complaining as well? Your chauffeur's raging
The
for the week.
chauffeur, yeah, he drives slowly as well, so you got to bring that into account.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough out here. It's really tough.
It's tough out here. That's our first
Really,
clip.
really tough out here.
Then we
He
got
says
Tiger
that a
Woods in the
lobby that
podcast.
looks like the bloody space shuttle.
Yeah, the buffet was okay as well. They only had the selection of chicken and meat.
Oh, I
Yeah,
hate when that
no fish
happens.
tonight. Uh,
Well, well,
Listen, they say be humble and make do with what you have. So this is a good learning journey.
I've always said you're like that as well.
Yeah.
But last week I kind of prompted the idea of us speaking about live. We were going to do maybe a two-parter, but the more we talk about it, this might be one. But let's not commit to that just yet in case you get part two next week. But I think with the recent events, live change of format that we'll get into, we've since we only started this podcast in October, well, September time actually after the Ryder Cup. I don't think we've had any real thoughts on live apart from maybe mentioning who won the week before, for example. So I think it's well worth doing, especially the start of a new year. So I know Kempo's got a few questions as well, but firstly, I'll just put it out to you guys. What was your initial thoughts when Liv came about? What was your initial reaction? Was it surprise? Did you think it was going to be a good thing? Just the kind of general. Kempo, I'll go to you.
I wasn't surprised, no, because I think the PGA Tour was kind of becoming quite complacent.
Mm,
And it had the majority. It was kind of the dream for a young player was to try and end up on the PGA Tour. And when you've got that constant flow of players from across the world coming to play on your tour, you don't need to improve things.
yeah.
So I wasn't surprised, but I was quite disappointed with the product that kind of came.
Hmm.
Um, because I think it was a massive opportunity that they could have designed something that was in touch with the stuff we love about golf, the tradition, but also forward thinking. Whereas this is very much almost anti-golf in some ways. Um, I think you can already tell which side of the fence I sit on, but
Yeah.
no,
That's
I
how
get
you
it.
really feel, Kevin.
and and again, the way that they went about it as well, it was very much. It doesn't help that it's backed by Saudi, but we can go into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was quite hostile, was
It
my
was
initial.
hostile.
It was I mean, I'll hand over to Rob after because it's quite interesting to know from a player's perspective, um, thoughts on it as well. But initially when it came out, I was a bit surprised. I didn't think actually from the viewer's perspective the product was that bad from the PGA Tour that needed to be challenged. I know a lot of the unrest came from players.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, a quite conservative approach of PGA Tour. I never thought was maybe that bad. I never was watching a PGA Tour event and thinking this could be so much better. Or I know people used to murmur saying team events would be great because the Ryder Cup. But I think
Mhm.
initially I wasn't shocked from the perspective of that a nation was going to take over a league because we
Yeah.
all love our football and we've seen this happen in football clubs. So think from that perspective, the amount of money that was talked about was maybe a surprise to a lot of Americans, but that wasn't a surprise to us. We've had PIF take over
Mhm.
Newcastle,
Sleep League that tried to
links to Man
start.
City and Etihad and all that kind of stuff. So the Middle East investment comes from Middle East and sport in general was
Yeah.
on the rise. So I wasn't too surprised from
Yeah.
that perspective. I suppose we can get in the specifics. Rob, what about you? That was 2022. Was that like the year of you turning pro around the same time?
Yeah, I turned pro kind of end of 2021 when I got or yeah, kind of mid to end 2021, and then ended up getting my Challenge Tour card
Did
at the end
your
of that 2021 for 2022, and I couldn't believe it. Like no offer came in.
I was about to say, did your letter get lost in the post?
Well, that's okay.
Um,
There's some people on the TikTok think you swing it like a 16 handicapper, so
I know.
that's
yeah,
interesting.
this is why I booked the first class trip to Dubai here.
To go and get it sorted.
Got to get that down to about 10 or 12 by the season. But yeah, I mean, couldn't believe it when. So I was a kind of with Rorian on this. Like I couldn't imagine how you could just start a new league. Just seemed so left field. Like
Mhm.
I was just thinking you'd need like $1 billion, and you'd need to convince guys to want to leave really good positions and like good lives that they have.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then these the Saudis came around with $1 billion
They
and
produced the
you know
billion.
produced the billions and produced like a standard of life at a golf tournament that seems to take away a lot of pressure
Hmm.
from
That's it.
players. And then it's like you're like it's hard to kind of imagine the difference unless you play an event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does look a bit gimmicky. It feels like it has the feeling of guys who've actually never really watched golf growing up, that
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
watched Formula One growing up, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to try and fit golf into that kind of
Well, it is. It's very F1, very, very
very,
team
yeah, we're
kind of.
going to try and
Yeah.
yeah, like you can see that they've not, it's put on by people with not much let's say, I'm going to say this not in a damaging way, like golf history IQ,
Hmm.
golf history knowledge,
Yeah.
and that's where they're suffering the most. Like no, it seems like no one who played the golf like as a kid really watches live golf.
Yeah.
Everyone who's like grown up playing the game and stuff just thinks it's too gimmicky to watch. And the
Hmm.
only people who watch it are like who comment on it. If you look at it online, saying it's actually great to watch and stuff, you can kind of tell that they're people that have only picked up golf when they were like 30, in their 20, maybe mid
Yeah.
20s, 30s, or
Hmm.
like very young guys who are, like more like YouTuber, really
Yeah.
YouTuber generation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's quite interesting because I suppose that was probably, and we'll talk about that. That was maybe one of their aims was try to get those types of people into golf, but
Hmm.
naturally, I don't think it's really taken off. But I suppose we'll get to the money aspect first. So, because that's obviously the elephant in the room, and then we can talk about the golf aspect and the
Hmm.
format, what they propose, how it's changed, where that's went wrong, maybe where they got it right. So, obviously, they're backed by Saudi's Public Investment Fund, PIF, um, guaranteed money. Now,
Mm.
Rob, if you were playing for guaranteed money, I'm quite interested to hear this. If you were playing for guaranteed money or you got a sign-on fee and everything you made after that was just a bonus, how would it affect you in terms of, I suppose, one, the amount you practice, and
Yeah,
two, your, I suppose, that competitive feeling in tournament, like not you're not playing under as much pressure you would think. How do you think it would affect you?
yeah. I suppose it's hard to tell unless it actually happens to you. So if you're
Yeah.
offering, I'll take it, no problem. Uh,
You don't want to talk yourself out of a future deal here, Rob.
Yeah, yeah. You got to
yeah,
be
yeah.
careful.
Listen, my lawyer is in the back here. Here's the side. Yeah, I got it. I got it, man.
It's all right. I've just finished watching the Suits. I had a quick episode of Suits before I came on here, so I can help you
Oh,
out
you
if
can
you
be
need.
my lawyer then. Yeah, you know the ins and outs.
You need a safe word.
Thing is, like, footballers, they make, millions and millions, and they're still hungry to want titles and win and stuff. The issue is, how hungry are you to win there's the issue of like wanting to win it when you're at the event, which is what I feel like the live players get. So
Mhm.
the motivation comes really when they're maybe at the event and you're in that environment and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'd like to win this. And I'd say they're at home, that motivation is you then lose a bit that drive, I'd say, when you're at home. So
Yeah.
it's not like they're trying less at a tournament. I'd say the focus and the intensity is still there during tournament week, but
Hmm.
it's your practice weeks in between at home that I feel like that's where it's going to impact you the most. Like, are you still doing your mobility session at now like half 8 to 9 p.m.
Yeah.
at night, just making sure your body's ready? Are you doing the extra 1% that guys who are trying to qualify for or trying to keep their card on the tour, trying to, all this stuff. I guess they brought in the relegation zone now, the Live Tour, which is a good thing. I
Yeah.
think they
Yeah.
are progressing slowly. I just don't think they have enough time on their hands
Yeah.
to to get the intensity up
Yeah.
for the events. I think that's gonna have
Yeah.
to, yeah.
I think that
It's gonna,
relegation zone has highlighted something there. I mean, like we just mentioned Henrik Stenson, who before he joined Liv was still kicking about in quite big events and was practicing hard to maintain his level at the top of the game. Whereas now
yeah,
he's gone to Liv. He doesn't need to practice as hard anymore, and
yeah,
he's almost, I can imagine, lost the motivation because you talk about these footballers getting paid, they want to go and win the Champions League,
Mm.
but these events they're playing in are prestigious events that have been played for whenever the Champions League was formed and whatever
yeah.
it was. So how much do you want to win an event that's played at the JCB for the second time ever? You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah, yeah.
kind of what you're
But this,
playing for.
exactly. And the thing is, like, when you talk about footballers, now that I think of it, like, how many times you listen to people saying about players, they're not like
Hmm.
top professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like, nearly nowadays, like, you only hear a few guys being called, oh, like Harry Kane, he's a top
Yes.
pro.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland, he's a top pro.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Like, that seems to be something that is like something of a unicorn nearly
Hmm.
now in
Yeah. It's
football.
strange.
Guys really being top professionals. But you know that on the PGA Tour, every guy is a top pro because you have to be a top
You
pro
have to be if you
in
want to win
golf.
a living.
You
Yeah.
don't, if you're not a top pro on the PGA Tour, you're going to be on the Corn Ferry Tour in 12 months' time,
Yeah.
and then you're starting to worry about bills and stuff like that.
And on the other
Yeah.
side of that, how many times do you hear a player, I don't know, not naming names, maybe Rashford, who gets his £250,000 contract and then falls away because
Yeah,
they take the foot off the gas, similar to a live contract.
yeah. So how many young talents that like you could see Keno's come out and he's gone. Yeah, but like he literally nearly every podcast you listen to with Roy Keane, the first thing he says about the young kid is, yeah, but is he going to be a top pro?
Yeah,
Like, and that's the question about that's hanging around these live players is, are they going to be top
yes,
pro? Are they going to be professionals? But that doesn't hang around on the PJ Tour because you
yeah,
know that those guys are top
have to
professionals.
be.
Because one, you have to be to even make it. You
Yes,
have to, it's a game where it takes hours and hours to find
exactly.
1%,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and only
yeah. There's
top
no
professionals get
secret
it.
sauce there. If you see a player that's competing week in week out and making cuts, he's grafting. There's no, oh, he's not putting the effort in. He has to
Yeah,
be to maintain that level of performance. So whereas
yeah,
again, the live, if he gets a top three or whatever, you don't know, do you? You just don't know
Yeah.
what they're up to.
I was going to play in devil's advocate before. We'll talk about the money aspect and then move to the players that moved, but and the impact of that. But I suppose in between that, you've got players, if I'm playing devil's advocate, like Tyrrell Hatton, who's went to
Yeah,
live. and
Who's
he's
incredible,
still
yeah.
performing at the top level. I
Yeah.
mean, I know what my view on it is, which is it doesn't mean, I think in general, if you were, let's say there's 54 players on Live, I think it was 48, then it went to 54, something like that.
Hmm.
I think it's fair to say most, even subconsciously, will lose that motivation, but that doesn't mean that everybody's going to lose the
No.
motivation. I think Tyrrell is a fiery character. I think for his
Hmm.
own, I think, as you say, Rob, when you get to an event, it could be any event, if you're, say, practicing for a race, you're trying to train for a marathon, and you know you've not really practiced or did the amount of runs you should have. What doesn't mean that on marathon day you don't want it any less. It just
Yeah.
No.
means that work's not been done. So during the process of trying to get better, and training for it, you just didn't give it your all. But it doesn't mean on the day you don't want to give it
Hmm.
your all. I feel like Tyrrell um probably does still combine both, but I think it is fair to say that I mean the whole part of Live was reduced events, for example.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find that lifestyle balance and the type of events as well in terms of loud music that is kind of leaning itself towards like liberal kind of, obviously they were trying to do an anti-product to the PGA Tour in some aspects,
That's
but
it.
then you lose like the conservative, you train this hard, like that I suppose the discipline is probably what got lost along
Yeah.
the way
They
for
were kind
most
of
of the
doing a
Yeah.
pro
bit of
players. There's
Like
obviously exceptions.
yeah.
they've gone for an entertainment event, and the
Yeah.
PGA Tour is really just sporting event where
Hmm.
guys are there they can win to change their lives.
Yeah.
Whereas it's just lives like a bit of like a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
And
interesting. I think Liv wouldn't even contest that as such.
No,
That's what's the whole
I think they'd
point.
be happy about that.
Well, they would have been. I think
yeah,
once we get into it, we'll realize that's not how it panned out. But I think the whole
Yeah.
idea was they, and I can see this because I probably wouldn't watch the average PGA Tour event, for example. Not
Maybe
all
on the
four
Sunday I
rounds.
would. Not the whole,
Yeah.
not the whole. Yeah, I think there's the main point that I think it was John Rami brought this up was that, do you know when you were saying, Ethan, that we enjoy watching the PGA Tour, and but we enjoy watching the PGA Tour because the players provided the entertainment, and they were the
Hmm.
ones who made it a good event, took it to playoffs, had those fiery reactions, the Spieths, whoever. And what the PGA Tour failed to recognize was that the players were the assets. They were
Hmm.
bringing the value to the PGA Tour, but they weren't treated as such. And then what Liv has done has shown that the players are the assets, and they will pay them accordingly to come
Yeah.
and provide the entertainment. And the PGA Tour weren't doing that because if you missed a cut, you didn't get paid. So that's another main difference, is that they were willing to treat the players as the asset that they were. And
Yeah.
that's what I think that's one of John Rahm's reasons, was that he wasn't getting treated as what the value he was bringing. He was, when he holds two 30 footers across the green to win his first major,
Hmm.
he's brought the value there, and yes, he got paid. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes he wouldn't. So
Yeah. I
I
think you're.
think yeah, I think major championships are actually the sporting events where the actual players that participate get paid the least amount of the total like percentage. And this is what Phil Mickelson was usually critical about. So let's say like a British Open will generate, they'll generate ridiculous amounts of money.
yeah,
Right? I don't have the
Is that
top of
in
my head.
pounds or euros, Rob?
that's man.
Listen, we talk about dollars as well, is like,
You can convert it in your head.
yeah, yeah. I'm a math genius, as you can tell. All right, so let's say I think the British Open makes about 100 million on the event.
You have
Where
no
have you pulled
idea.
that
You
from?
have no idea, do you? Let's be honest.
No, I pulled that from because this like the winner uh, of the British Open makes about 2 million, something like that. And in major championships, the winner gets like 5% of the prize of the revenue generated from the event. Like the winner only gets 5%, whereas like in other sports, it sits around like 30-40%. So golf players are actually one of the most underpaid athletes for what revenue they generate. If you look at the PGA Tour and what they generate and what the 100th player on the PGA Tour made last
Hmm.
year,
I remember talking about this,
like
yeah.
they're making absolutely peanuts for what the brand is.
Yeah.
How valuable the PGA Tour is, and they're part of that brand. Like they've got a tour card, their image rights are used by the PGA Tour. They're on TV. and they're really making peanuts for what the PGA Tour is making, and that's what like the boys that went to live were probably thinking is like,
Yeah.
listen, we're our value here, like a John Ram,
Yep.
you know, his value is, it's mad that a player can like he's making, if he has a good season, he'll make like 6 or 7 million,
Hmm.
but he's probably capable of making like 50 to 60
Yeah.
Yeah.
million
Yeah. Yeah.
in sponsorship deals off the course.
Exactly. I mean, how much value did he bring to,
So
he's making the
as a
whole country tune in,
exactly,
you know?
yeah. So as an actual golf player, he's 10% of what he's probably making
Yeah.
is actually when he was on the PGA Tour was actually playing golf,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can put some stats there, Rob, so
which is
you weren't
quite
far off.
insane.
You weren't far off at all. So the total direct commercial turnover for the Open is around 150 to 200 million pounds per year, and the winner gets 2.3 million
Yeah.
pounds. So you're
So
right.
the winner's
Look
getting
how
like
proud he is of himself, like as we face.
He's happy about that, isn't he?
wow, that was pretty good there.
I mean, I'm still 50 to 100 million off, but
So like the
Yeah.
winner's making listen, we're talking about
Don't
live
get
here,
into
so
it, Rob.
we're
You're on a
talking
roll.
it's a
Don't
live
try and work it
episode,
out.
so 50 million doesn't really matter too much for a live episode. So you're thinking like the winner's making, 1 to 2% of
Yeah.
yeah.
what the tournament's generating.
Yeah, I think that disruption was
Quite
good
wild.
because as you say, like PGA Tour, they're almost monopolizing golf tournaments and golf tours. Well, they were the biggest tour
Yeah,
in the world. So that means that they know that they control the market like any other business would. That's why you have like, not to get into business speak, but like the CMA, Competitions Market Authority, to stop like businesses getting too much market share and then taken away from consumers. Or in this place, in this space, it was kind of like taken away from the players and potentially the fans because they're controlling all the money that's coming in. As you say, it could be quite a small percentage that's being paid out. So Live obviously in the long term that we can talk about pushed up the purses for the PGA Tour and
Well,
they've
that's it.
closer
I
to
think.
event and
Well,
stuff.
why don't we talk about what Liv got right?
Yeah,
Um,
let's do
you
that.
know, yeah. So I mean, put it out there. I don't
Well,
know what they got right.
I think the money, I think
You
long and
touched on a
short of
point
it
then.
is that it's made the PGA Tour potentially a better product
Yes.
because it meant that they've got, I mean, you always want a bit of competition in the marketplace. It means that you're less complacent. It means that you're
yeah,
looking far ahead. You're being self-critical instead of just thinking, well, no one's going to challenge us, so we don't have to rethink what we're doing. So I think in that aspect, even though it got hostile at times, it made the PGA Tour rethink its model,
Hmm.
I suppose.
Agreed. And I think from the players' point of view, one of their big thing was again not treated like the asset they were. They weren't able to control their own schedules.
Hmm.
Um, and what's come out is that because of Live, it's allowed. I mean, they started the players. What was the board that they started? The basically they
It
started
was Players Committee. I can't remember what it was called, but
the
this one that
Rory was
Rory was
chair
on.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they basically allowed the players to speak their mind about what was going on. And I don't think that if Liv hadn't come in, then it had just carried on like normal, and it allowed the PGA Tour to to give the players a voice to say what they didn't like. And one of the things that came out of it was a better control over your own schedule, um, which is again one of the main reasons that people went to Live was that it was a less packed schedule, they spent more time with your family, and obviously the financial reward as well.
yeah. I think the what the PG Tour was getting wrong is that they hadn't evolved in like 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And that was like a cause for concern for some of these guys. Like you could be literally number five in the world. You have a make, swing tweak or whatever, and within a season you could use your PGA Tour card,
Hmm.
which is fairly wild as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
if a footballer has one bad season, or a Formula One driver, or Formula One driver probably a bad point as they're all getting fired at the minute. all these average drivers. But like, yeah, a Lewis Hamilton or a Sainz, like even Bottas still has seats. If you're having done a few good seasons, you're guaranteed basically a spot for another few years.
yeah.
But on PGA Tour, you're actually never guaranteed another year
Unless you win.
Unless you
unless you,
win or win a
yeah, yeah,
major. But even then, we know how hard that is
How
to.
hard? Exactly, exactly.
yeah. So then you get cases like Ricky Fowler nearly losing
Mhm.
his card
Well,
with
yeah.
one bad season. Yeah.
I
or
mean, the only
probably,
reason he, I mean, seemed to keep his card was because of his sponsor exemptions.
yeah.
There was that whole debate, wasn't there, that he kicked
But
out?
Jordan Spieth was the same.
Yeah,
Justin
yeah,
Thomas was playing the
Jordan Spieth would have
final.
been in huge trouble if he had, without
sponsor
those
exemptions.
sponsor exemptions. And you can think of so many big names that kind of fell off the way just because it can just go like that. Like,
Yes,
think
yeah,
of guys like Hunter Mahan,
yeah,
guys that were at the top gone
hmm,
in a flash. Like, do you
yeah.
think he was playing the Ryder Cup and then within a couple
Yeah.
of years he was like off the face of golf?
And that again,
No,
so there's no safety net. There was
there's
no
no
safety net.
safety net as well. And like these guys are obviously not making enough over, their 3, 4 year career
Yeah.
to um to be comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
You
they
know?
haven't got these contracts, have they? This is it, and that's what Liv has given them. I think one of the things that has come on the PGA Tour recently is this. We were talking about it the other day about if you play a certain amount of events, you get money at the end of the season. You get a certain
Yeah.
amount. I forgot what the amount is, but again, that's probably a change that's happened to counteract the Liv to make it
Yeah,
more of a design you want to stay with the PGA Tour.
exactly. Yeah. The
Yeah,
Because
PGA Tour started giving 500,000 to pretty much every player at the start of the year.
yeah,
yeah. I think I've just looked
So,
up as well. I mean, one of the big pluses is that it's a global tour. You've got the
yeah,
PGA Tour, it's mainly
that's the main
America. I think I remember Tony Finau won the Puerto Rico Open. You've got a few regions near there, but it's mostly in the US. And then you've got the DP World Tour that's apart from early in the season we're in South Africa and Australia, it's mainly in mainland Europe. So I like that
yeah,
Live is a bit everywhere. And the good thing, kind of tying back to our previous point about making it a better product, is I actually just looked up when the Genesis Scottish Open first became a co-sanctioned event, and that was in 2022. So I
right,
don't know if that was a pressure from the live situation, but I think it's fair to say it must have been a factor,
for
and it
sure.
meant that
Yeah,
players could not lose points from the DP World Tour or PGA Tour by playing that event.
hmm,
Because you
Yeah,
don't want, as a player, you don't want to feel like I know Robbie. You think you said you made this mistake before when you're playing in different tours that you're not gaining points on one tour for the order of merit and you spread yourself too thin, it gets
yeah,
difficult. And it's easy to see the likes of Rory win the race to Dubai all the time. But for golfers who are decent PGA Tour players, you also want to play a few DP World Tour events. I'm sure for a while they felt like it was like an opportunity cost that they had to play in another tour to
yeah,
give up. So having these co-sanction events definitely seemed to be a good thing as well that came out of it.
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the main like one of the huge things is that like events like the Australian Open fizzing out, events like you had events on the PGA Tour, Travelers, and all these kind of like good events were fizzling out because the top players just weren't coming to play them. South
Hmm.
African Open, French Open, even the Irish Open there for a few years. It was, touch and go with the quality of the field.
hmm,
And the issue is that you just had like because guys were making their own schedules and you're kind of picking and choosing different events to play, you never really had the only time the best players came to play together was at the majors,
yeah,
Yeah, I was going to
which
say that.
is which is terrible for like in it what sport in the world do you only get the best players competing against each other 4 times a year?
Yeah, I feel like
You
even in
know,
tennis and things like that, you've got Grand Slams, but you still have them
yeah. They have the
competing
ATP
alongside
1000s
each
in
other.
between. Yeah, 'cause, they have the
yeah, but I
tournament.
felt like Sinner and Alcaraz have played each other like 9 or 10, 11 times this year in tournaments.
Hmm,
Yeah.
They've played against I think they played against each other like 9 times, and
hmm,
tennis event pick, you know, which is just 1v1, like which is quite mad. And then like if you think how many times did Rory and um, you know, Ram, for example, compete against each other. You can only really think are the top players get together. It's like it was only the majors because some guys would play Pebble Beach, maybe 3 or 4 guys in the top 20 in the world
Hmm.
would play the Pebble Beach. That tournament was also like losing players because the field it's a pro-am and the field was so big. And then other events like in the Genesis at what's the river what's the course
Riviera.
called, Riviera. That was also had like 5 or 6 guys in the top 20, and you actually never had, 17 or 18 guys in the top 20 in the world playing the same events, and that's where the PGA Tour kind of realized, oh, we've screwed this, and that's why they started these. elevated events so that they could make sure that actually the top 20 players on the PGA Tour, or the top 50 players on the PGA Tour, are actually going to guaranteed for competing 8 or 9 times
Yeah.
uh, against each other during the year, and that's been actually fantastic. Like you've seen like Fleetwood versus Bradley, you're seeing like uh, Rory coming up, against like Auberg at Pebble Beach. Then you get these 1v1 battles that are really now you're creating like a good story for the event.
Yeah. Were there
And
any
that's what
other?
and that's what Liv was trying to do, was like get really like a roster of top players, and they're just trying to do the same thing but then do it worldwide. So it's not only people in California, or people in Arizona, or people in Florida that get to see the best players compete. It's now like for the
Newcastle.
actually when you think of golf,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the Geordies get to see, the top players compete. The Australians get to see them.
Yeah.
Where else do they go? They go to, like, was it 13 countries last year?
Hmm.
So, you bring so many more fans to the game. So that's what I love about it. And
Yeah.
that's where I think the PGA Tour needs to step up as well. I know they're doing the Genesis, but I'd love it if they held like um, a few more co-sanctioned with the
Mm.
DP.
Yeah. Or a
We've
WGC
we've
event and
touched on it.
somewhere different.
Yeah, we've touched on it. Even moving one of the majors around, the PGA, moving that to Australia for a year, or I know they wouldn't
Yeah.
do that because
They
it's
would
PGA
never do it.
America,
Yeah.
but one of them, a US, I don't know, just moving it around and trying to spread the game of golf. It's always there.
Yeah.
Um,
I was
I
going to
think,
say kind of an overarching point about what was good before we probably get into the negatives, because I think we've
mhm,
got like 15 minutes left. The negatives is the overarching point is that I think it was good for an organization to challenge what
yes,
was currently going on. So I think the challenge, the prize funds, challenge the norms in terms of, yeah, golf's very conservative. I think there's only a couple of events a year in South Africa that you're not allowed to wear trousers. You can wear shorts, for example, because of the heat. Whereas
mhm.
Liv said, no, you can just wear shorts
Who we
whenever you
want,
want.
yeah,
So I think there's certain things that we know they're traditional embedded in golf, but you take them away, it really doesn't matter. I think the whole shorts thing is a good example. I know hoodies over the year. We can get into golf apparel some week, but I think kind of those traditional aspects, I think everybody universally thought that's pointless anyway.
yes, exactly,
They disrupted, but the execution of everything else, well,
yeah.
I think that was so good. So I'm guessing Kempo, that's what you're moving on to.
Well, no, one last point before you move on what they got
Go
right.
for
We
it.
touched on it before we started. That they did, like you say, they just reduced the barriers. They allowed
Yeah.
it. We are coming from this from quite good players who grew up watching golf and love nothing better than putting an old Masters video on from the early 2000s. And but people don't really care about that. People who started playing golf in COVID don't care. And sometimes it's a lot easier to watch live because you can kind of identify with a team rather than understanding the individual leaderboard. It kind of
Mhm.
makes it more familiar, like you say, with an F1 team, your team that's got a unique personality. I guess that's what they've done. But again, the execution of the individual teams and the names and all that
Oh, they're terrible.
could have done with
Getting
being
personal
better.
now. Getting
Yeah.
It
personal.
could have done with better execution. So yeah.
Ready to
So
go.
what did it get bad?
Well, I think we should stick on that point on teams. I think it was right to
Yeah.
think about team. I think it's something everybody said, apart from the match play, not the match play, sorry. What's the event that Shane and Rory won one year?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The four ball, yeah, the
Yeah, the
Yes.
Zurich Classic. You've got that, the Ryder Cup every other year. Um, that's it really in terms
Hmm.
of the team golf.
And the
So
father and son type
the
thing as
father
well. They
and
do that one,
sons,
don't they?
yeah. But I think the idea of having more team golf was good. I don't know if you agree that having, I think it just shows that the novelty of having it every 2 years for the Ryder Cup, for example, it just was proven by Liv that I don't think most people get up for the team stuff. I mean, they had a brands that came out of the team where you could buy, almost, they tried to bring the tribalism of football and associate with the team into golf, and it just
Hmm.
didn't work because I don't
Yeah,
think that
exactly.
doesn't exist. You can't, part of tribalism in football is you kind of have to hate other teams and be just for your team. It's like, I remember we did it, sports marketing. The first lecture we did it was like, it's not just like any other business. I mean, people in Asda and Tesco don't like write abuse at each other or shout at each other in the streets. Like it's different. And I
Are you
know,
sure?
Well,
I
I
used to
don't
work for
know.
Tesco, mate. I hated Asda.
Up the road in Clermiston, you might hear it a few times, but I feel
I
like,
think
and if in
Campbell's
sport you
got
have that,
Tesco
but
tattooed on his arm,
Yeah.
is he not?
No, I've got
Yeah,
got,
yeah.
got worse tattoo, mate. That's for
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
all
but
right.
I feel like in
Forgot about that one.
in tennis you have like maybe you have a player that you favor in a one-to-one situation, but you're not, I wouldn't say you're actively booing players.
Not
There's
at
no
all.
tribalism. So why in golf I could see why they thought it would be a good idea, but yeah, as you say, Campbell,
Well,
the team names, a brand,
these
and it just didn't work.
they started it off with individuals who had their own individual brand. So,
Hmm.
John Rahm came as John Rahm. You can't put him in, I don't know what team is in, Fireballs, whoever's it. This is it. None
That's
of
that
it
we
has
don't know.
stuck.
Yeah, we love golf and we don't know what teams are playing.
No, and I genuinely don't think many people would. And I think people who are watching Live still watch it for the individual golf. I don't think any people tune in to Live and are buzzing for the shotgun start to watch their favorite team try, and I just don't think it works. It's too much of an individual sport
Yeah, it's
in
not like
that
McLaren.
format.
Another one's like McLaren, Mercedes. I mean, you have favorite teams, but you don't in
But
Formula
this
One. You don't hate the other teams. You're not
no,
booing on when you're watching the F1, booing a driver,
yeah,
for
and they have
example.
they are so unique, and they've spent millions and sometimes billions over the years to build the unique brand. When you go into an Aston Martin dealership, you're buying an Aston Martin. There's a
Yeah,
brand behind
it's
that, you
yeah. The
know.
thing is, it's relatable as well because you'll see like people will have a favorite car, but
Yeah.
I don't think people will have like a favorite range goat
No, yeah,
logo
exactly.
that they're
Yeah,
you
No.
know the poster up in their on their wall. I don't think
yeah.
they've
Yeah.
got the yeah
Yeah, I
You,
want
you,
like
to.
you see
Brandon
what
Grays
happens.
on the range. You know?
Yeah, you see what happens in F1 when a driver joins the team. They become that brand. Like Lewis
Yeah,
Hamilton went from Mercedes to Ferrari. He completely changed in the way he dressed, in the way he was seen in the public. You
yeah,
become that brand. You don't. John Rahm doesn't become Fireballs. John Rahm is John Rahm.
Yeah,
Tyrrell Hatton is Tyrrell Hatton.
I know
yeah,
they
yeah.
still have
The
obviously
brand
the
is
individual,
the
but
brand is in the individual in golf,
Right.
100%. Yeah, and yeah, you're dead right, Ethan, with the tribalism about it all. You just there's no way to relate to this golf team.
no.
There's no way unless like that's why you can relate to USA versus Europe because
Exactly. You need
you're
to be.
European.
You need to be
That's how
from
it
there.
works. That's how you can relate a little bit to the Olympics as well.
Yes.
Rory, going for Ireland or Justin Rose for England. That's why the Olympics is working now
Yeah,
as well.
It does. Yeah.
But
Yeah. For sure.
people gave it no chance, the Olympics, but now you're looking at it and thinking, yeah, like remember how mad the French went when Victor Perez was making that charge
hmm
on the last day for France.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like people were like, I've never heard roars like that on a golf. It was like a football stadium roar
Yeah.
for like, you know, at that point they're not supporting Victor Perez,
yeah,
they're really they're supporting France. You're
Exactly.
yeah,
getting that
yeah.
tribalism in there.
Well, it's patriotism. It's different, isn't it? Because you can get behind the whole nation's behind you. It's not
Yeah.
like there's not
Like,
loads of range goats getting behind one player. Like there's
Yeah.
loads of French people getting behind a French person, but there's no range goats just killing.
no,
It just doesn't. It's even silly
It's
just saying
so,
it. I
and
can't.
it's
It is
even when you say
so
it, I
cringy.
can't bear it. It's so
yeah,
cringy.
it doesn't roll off the tongue either.
No,
Like,
and
No.
this is it I guess in a sport like golf, all the equipment stuff, it's so established, and effectively it's the same sport. So all of a sudden change it to some cringy like
yeah,
it just doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, it's still golf,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
just so
the thing is they changed so much already, and then I think adding in the teams is just got has made it a bit more complicated, and it's just made it enough that people are like, ah, there's too much going on.
hmm hmm
If
Yeah.
you're just an individual leaderboard, you can relate to it, and then bring in maybe the teams for like do a one-time team event
hmm
during the season.
Hmm.
yeah,
But I think like they say keep it simple, stupid.
yeah, yeah.
That's like literally like
That's it. Yeah,
101. And I think they
Exactly.
made there was so many changes already,
yeah,
and then they just complicated one step too far with the teams, and
yeah,
that's when like you're watching it, you're like, there's too much. There's
yeah.
just too much.
They almost brought out a 10-year-old
Yeah,
product. It should have developed to the point it's at now, not overnight.
exactly. If it was just a straight
You know,
leaderboard, it would be simple to watch, and then you can relate to it. And they've just lost it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
but I think the main thing they got wrong again for me is probably the lack of competition, which to me straight away turns off the average golfer from wanting to watch it. Because and as we're seeing now with Koepka, who is come off the tour and he's getting back to the PGA Tour. Koepka looks like they made him look like someone who couldn't be asked, who wasn't bothered about competition.
Mhm.
But then he came and played the majors and he was bothered. He came and played at Wentworth when he didn't have to. I think it's
Yeah.
someone who really likes competition, and Liv just wasn't firing him up enough by the looks of it.
To the point where he's accepted financial penalties, had to
Massive
pay back
penalties.
some of his money back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
And
in
he just
turn,
wants to be back on the PGA Tour, So
yeah, I was going to say probably one or two more points. The format. So Live LIV is Roman numerals for
didn't know
54
that.
holes. I didn't know that until I saw TikTok yesterday. And
How did you not know that? It's
no,
been like the whole brand for.
Is
yeah,
it?
but I didn't realize that. Even that, you don't even know what their logo under. I mean, maybe that's a reflection on me.
Yeah, it's 54 for 54 players, 54 holes.
54 players, 54 holes. But and they've admitted this themselves because recently we've got the news that they're going to go to 72 holes.
What they're
Yeah.
gonna change it to? The name.
I don't
What's
know.
Roman numerals
Rob,
for
if you know the Robert
72?
Roman numerals so well, then what's 72?
Yeah, what is it, Rob? You just said you knew it. How did you know that?
Like there's 72 players or 72 holes.
72
That'd
holes.
be there's an M in there somewhere.
Does that mean,
Maybe.
hang on, does that mean 72 holes, no cut?
Well, I don't. Well, I
Yeah,
think.
probably. Yeah.
Imagine if you shoot 8 over first round.
Well, this
Well,
is
it's funny.
My
interesting
God,
though.
I've
They've
got
gone
50 holes left.
way more worldwide.
Hmm.
They've added events and they've gone to 4 rounds. So their whole strategy at the start was so that players could spend more time at home. And actually now the players are ended up like one of the reasons Brooks, if you look at his statement, he says also like I've done this move so I can spend more time at home as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Which was
It's
what the
literally
USP was
completely
like
reversed.
17 events and you're getting paid a lot more money. And that was, remember, that was the whole spiel, like the PR thing
Yeah.
that players like Lee Westwood and Ian Poulter, and rightly so, like that's, to be fair, I think everybody in that position,
100%.
especially at their stage of their career, would consider it. But a lot of it was, yes, I'm getting paid a lot of money, but I'm also getting paid more to do less work. And anybody would take that. But as you're saying, Rob, that's not necessarily the case anymore. But I know Rory alluded to this 72 holes. Now, obviously, they're trying to get world ranking points. I'm guessing to get world ranking points, they must have a cut in, or maybe because the field is so small,
Mhm.
they don't need a cut. But um, I think they've realized that they've diverged just too far now
Mhm.
that players are getting annoyed that they that actually puts a lot of pressure on the live players to play exceptionally well in the majors because that's the only way they're going to get decent world ranking points unless
Yeah.
DP World Tour lets them play, which it does sometimes. But
Mhm.
um, I think from a player's perspective, if you're in the peak of your career like a Tyrrell Hatton, like a you wouldn't say Brooks Koepka is in his peak, but he could be because he's not that
Mhm.
old. Like he could be in his peak, but he's went to live. You say too early, but you know what I mean. You want to maximize what you've got, and then kind of always have that as a backup plan. I know they don't always have
Yeah.
the luxury just to say, "Oh, I'm going to go live when I'm older," but
Mhm.
I think having the opportunity to play for world ranking points every week, and then treat the majors as something um not as a bonus, but you know what I mean? You don't want to have to think, oh, I want to get into the Open or I've still got an exemption. And not only that, I have to play really well just to keep my world ranking so that
Yeah.
I get in next year too.
That seems to have gone though. You got players like Cam Smith who won an Open a few years ago, and now I don't know what his world ranking is, but he's in the hundreds and whatever, isn't he? So
Yeah,
um, yeah,
makes it
no,
really difficult. I mean, there's one thing that we haven't covered,
there's a
which
lot we haven't covered. Even actually, we've got. We need to touch on Rory. We need to touch on the merger that's apparently happened that doesn't seem to have changed anything.
yeah. There's one more. We can actually, maybe we could do a part two, then we'll leave it open so that we could maybe do a part two. I think we've covered quite a lot, but there's one other thing I'm interested to know. Well, actually, no, I'll not talk about that because it's quite a minor point. I was going to talk about shotgun starts, but I don't think that's really a point to talk about. So
I
instead
mean,
of,
the shotgun start, it makes sense to me that they've done that again. We touched on it before about
oh,
that.
we did, yeah, actually.
It brings in a different viewer. The way that golf works, it's quite hard to watch if you're not a big golf fan. So if you're
Hmm.
watching the Masters on a Sunday, you've got tee times from whatever time in the morning until half two in the afternoon. Starts like in two balls, and if you're a kind of a viewer who's not too bothered about tradition, you just kind of want to sit down and watch it. Similar to like I don't know, an F1 race, you want to 4 or 5 hours or whatever. And shotgun start allows everyone to be playing at the same time and the event to finish at the same time, effectively.
Yeah,
So it's condensing the viewing time. So as a kind of a casual viewer, to me that makes sense.
yeah, fair enough. Um, And I was going to ask you this final question. Uh, Rob said it earlier, or maybe it was you, about the players being the product, but I would maybe challenge that and say Liv have got some of the top players in the world, and you still don't enjoy it. So do you think it's all down to the players, or have we kind of summarized that it's a bit of everything?
I think certain events on the PGA Tour have their own kind of different feel and different personality, like the Phoenix. The Phoenix brings the event, and
Hmm.
they obviously do a very good job of making that event what it is. Um, you've got the majors that all have an individual kind of unique feel to them. Again,
Yeah.
the Masters, the Open, but then I think they're not really they're helped by the PGA Tour, but they're their own body, especially at the Masters. Um, but I do think the events that we remember aren't because of the events. I think if you look back at the
Hmm.
players has a definite unique feel to it, but the unique feel comes because of the putts that Tiger Woods has made. The playoff with Rory last when in the playoff when Rory when what's he called it flew the green and Rory wins. That's
Oh, JJ
not
Spawn.
yeah, that's not the players. That's that's not the event. Sorry, Rob's put me off. That's not the event. That's the players making the event. So I think there's definitely a balance,
Yeah.
but I think if the players were to just be no personalities and produce terrible golf, what would the PGA Tour be? So
Yeah. Rob, the question was, as like a closing question, you said about the players being the product, or maybe Campbell did earlier, players the product, but Liv's kind of suggested that it's not down to the players, but not just the players anyway, because you've got top names on Live and people still don't watch it. So they could be the biggest product, or do you think they are the main product? Obviously they are because you have to be good golfers, but how do you compare that to maybe like the tournament, the setup, things like that?
Yeah, I think, well, the PGA Tour, the brand is the PGA Tour. Like whatever they do, players are going to come and go on the PGA Tour, and the college system really helps that as
Yeah.
well in the US. Like they know they're just going to get talent and talent and talent. Live though, they have no idea if they're going to keep getting talent and talent, so they have to bank on making the brand and the inventing the event experience. That's the attraction of Live
Yeah, that's
for
well,
me.
I think they're also relying on the fact they're relying on how much money they have to spend. To be honest with you, I think their way of attracting talent is how much money they're willing to spend on them.
Yeah.
yeah. We can talk about well, actually, we've decided, Rob, maybe we're going to do a part two because then that's just reminded me we could talk about the feeder systems and stuff and different tours and why they didn't really have one. Now they've got the Asian tour. So,
I'm sure
but
Jordan's got an opinion he'd love to share next week.
yeah, but I mean, I want to kind of close out by saying, yeah, players, a product, generally yes, but I think actually from all this, what I realized is the PGA Tour probably deserves a lot more credit.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
there's course setups. I mean, there's some events, even regular PGA Tour events, they go back to every year. Sometimes they change the course, but I feel like the product is very consistent and already really well enjoyed. So
yeah.
I
But
feel
again,
like it's
you would yeah, an example, for example, the Travelers or the John Deere. These events that I would watch, but again, the reason I remember these events is Jordan Spieth holding out from a bunker in a playoff. That's again, so it comes down to the player being the asset that maybe they weren't
Yeah.
treated with the respect they deserved.
Yeah, but it goes to show you how like the how strong the PG Tour is, that a rival tour can attract top talent, spend billions,
hmm
and still not even come like
Hmm.
te like come close to the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Like
again, I think that could be down to the strength of the sport
yeah,
of golf and its
yeah,
traditions
Do you
that's
think
keeping
yeah,
so?
people
Because I was
watching.
going to ask you, Campbell, if you, I'm sure it's happened, maybe not hold a bunker shot, but on Live, there could have been
I hold bunk shots all
someone
the time,
someone
but
hold a
anyway.
bunker shot to win a Live event. I don't feel like we would talk about it.
No, I mean the
yeah.
only
But I think
honestly
because the
no.
yeah, because I think that's because it's a shotgun start.
It's to a point. There's no last group going down the last hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
and
right.
that and is there anything better than what, like, you don't even need, there doesn't need to be like Rory McIlroy or Bryson DeChambeau or Brooks Koepka or these guys. It can be
Hmm.
I was watching, was it Nico Echevarria, or I think I've absolutely butchered his name there,
It's Rivera, I think.
It
Yeah.
sounded pretty good to me.
versus like Max Grazerman.
Hmm.
And Nico's is like one shot ahead, but Max Grazerman was in the final group and he's playing the last hole, and like it's a par five. Birdie ties, eagle wins it, and par loses. And it doesn't have to be big names, and you're just glued to the TV watching it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
shouting, like going, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's just done
Yeah.
that!"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And and as a shotgun start, you just lose that, which is
Yeah.
the biggest appeal for
For
golf. Like
us,
the
that's it. You're
yeah,
right. We just touched on that again. The 54 hole, the shotgun start is very good for a casual viewer of golf.
yeah,
But when you talk about again the Masters this year with Rory coming down the stretch, the
yeah,
tension is building throughout the whole afternoon
yeah,
because he's going to have to try and finish this out on his own, the last group on the course.
yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's coming from again golfers who appreciate tradition and have watched
But
golf for a long
also
time.
appreciating that if you're playing a tournament and someone's posted a number in the
Yes,
clubhouse,
exactly.
feel that feeling on the golf course. It doesn't
Yeah,
even matter when. It could be like a club championship, for example, and
100%.
you
Yeah,
know that
new and
someone a few
knowledgeable.
grips ahead of you has posted a score, or you need to birdie one of the last three holes to get into the top 16 for the
Mhm.
match play. It's all relative, but
It's all
as you
relative.
say, Rob,
Yeah,
you lose that with
Well,
shotgun.
exactly. Once again, it comes down to the pressure. There's just not enough pressure for sporting spectacle in live. From
Yeah,
the money, guaranteed money, the shotgun start, and the team format,
yeah.
the intensity of a sporting event is gone.
yeah, and the no cut as well.
And that
It's
yeah,
just
and that's where they lose your actual sporting viewer.
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Well, that's a great
Cool.
place to finish this, Rob.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So we might do a part two. Probably will do a part two. Don't know if it's gonna be. Well, it makes sense maybe do it to back weeks, but I know we've got another potential video idea or podcast idea, so that could come next week as well. So not to say we don't know what we're doing, but we don't know what we're doing.
I thought we had a 3 week plan always.
Yeah, a 3 week
Anyway,
plan. We don't send the agendas
Hey.
out an hour before the recording or anything. Um, but yeah, thanks again for listening. I was gonna say we went viral on TikTok. Not really. We got 10,000 views. Apparently that's not viral, but I thought it was pretty good.
not bad.
On one of our
Not bad for
videos.
your golf swing, Ethan.
Well, that's true. Although they couldn't see the swing, it was more the ball flight. So it was more like the
All
end
right.
product rather than
That's
how they
why we
get
got the
there.
10,000 views.
That's it. Um, so yeah, we're going to continue posting there. We've got an Instagram page as well, and we post all these episodes on YouTube. So if you're not watching it on YouTube, there's other things in there you can see too. So apart from that, thanks for listening, and see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.